Hello, everybody. So now we're going to go on to lesson 5 for 52 short stories. And what I want to talk about actually is popular hero archetypes. There's actually a lot of different archetypes in general, and there is more hero archetypes. So we're just going to talk about a couple that are popular: the alpha, the beta, the theta, and the delta. So with the alpha character, that is the hero that that's a very popular hero. It's usually going to be the leader of the group. It's somebody who wants to build a better society, family, organization. He looks out for his group. He has good communication skills, good social skills, almost like a politician. He knows what to say to get people to do what he wants, but he's not manipulative, but he's just a very good leader. He's very strong, he's honorable, he's reliable. He's usually born from a leader or mentored by one, and like a noble person. May have a title that gives them power. For example, it could be the president, it could be the captain of the basketball team or soccer team, um, president of student body or Somali student organization, just in general, like somebody who just has a title, even if it's the owner, the manager, or something, where that gives them a little bit of power. They can be foolishly brave sometimes because they're more worried about helping others and doing the right thing, regardless of the risk to themselves. If they do have any tragic problems, it doesn't necessarily break them, but it makes them want to help others not go through the same thing. In general, with the alpha character, it is a very popular character in more traditional cultures. For example, European cultures, they usually like to say that the person is a leader because they're born from their family. They're more like the alpha character. So, not necessarily when you go look at cultures like American culture, where this character is not necessarily as popular. So sometimes when it comes to the archetypes, it does depend on the culture, so that it goes with. Like even when you look at cultures like, Korean culture, even you will see that this character, the alpha character, a lot of times is going to be the hero of the story, most of the time. So now you have the beta hero. This is somebody who's very clever. He loves learning new things. The smart guy. He can get out of difficult situations. He doesn't really care about being the leader of the group. He doesn't really care about power like that because he's very smart and he just sees it as a long term. Like these things are not very important to him in the long run. He's more about learning new things, not necessarily getting more power. He's never foolishly brave. Even though he is very brave, he will, help others and put himself out there. He's not afraid to, but if he does, it's always very calculated. He thought about it. He knows what the risks are. He's not going to do it and just if he knows if he's going to he knows if it's a mistake, he knows if it's a risk, unlike maybe the alpha who did it and then later regrets it or realizes they made a mistake. The beta did not make a mistake. They knew exactly what they were doing, so they rarely get angry. They're usually very calm, very logical person. A lot of times you'll see them giving advice to the alpha character. If they have a tragic past, it doesn't necessarily bother him because he's more logical than emotional. A lot of times, really, you will see this character as a hero in Somali culture. We tend to more favor the hero that he's very smart, somebody who's very clever, even if it's a female. But those are things that we see as important. Um, Having a tragic past, not necessarily something important to us, since it's more so about making yourself into a new person, a new life based on how smart you are. So a lot of times in Somali stories, you will see that the beta character, the smart character, is the one that wins at the end, is the one that gets what they want at the very end. So again, a lot of times with these characters, you will see them more prevalent and depends on the culture. Now, the theta character is an emotional character. A lot of times it's going to be the younger character in the story. If they had a hard life, they still haven't got over it. They could be still experiencing it right now, like the orphan who's still an orphan right now. There's somebody who gets upset easily, very passive. It could be a romantic character if they're in love with someone, very sweet. They're usually afraid to take action. Perhaps they've never done it before. It's their first time. This is a very innocent character. A lot of times, if danger happens, if a problem happens, they prefer to rely on the alpha or beta character that's older than them rather than taking the action themselves. If they are going to take action, it's usually because they're forced to. There's nobody else to save them. And, kind of like a animal that got cornered, so it's their first time and they don't want to do it, but they'll do it if they have to. So now the Delta character actually is the bad boy, the one that rarely follows the group. He likes to go against society. He likes to rebel. He doesn't trust anybody, or many people anyways. He doesn't have many friends, maybe one or two. He'd rather leave people than lead people. He hates to take orders. He's very strong. He actually likes to get angry. He does. It doesn't bother him. He's not somebody who's trying to control that. When it comes to people, he usually will hate the alpha character because the alpha character is the one who tries to enforce society's rules because they're the leader of the group. So usually if they're the leader of the group, you have to cater to what everybody wants, and you have to keep those rules for society. And the Delta hates the rules. They're the rebel. So they usually are going to hate the alpha character because the alpha character is always going to tell them that you're doing the wrong thing. So they're not going to like each other. But strangely, Delta character is a hero that's very popular in American culture. American culture, they love the bad boy. There's a lot of stories about them. They love the guy who's the loner, who's the cowboy, who goes against all the rules and goes against society. And it could be possibly because of that history of America starting and being against the idea of the British culture and against nobility, against the idea that you became who you are because of where you came from, rather than that you're somebody who struggled and then you made it on your own. So Americans, they love that story about the person who had this hard maybe life against the society, but at the end of the day they made it, and they still made it at the end of the day, and there you go, they became the hero. So this is actually more popular in American culture. So again, it really depends on the culture about which heroes win at the end. Now, female heroes, of course, there's not going to necessarily be as many female heroes as there are male heroes. For whatever reason, I'm not really sure. You would think that female writers would write them more, but not necessarily. So a lot of times it's still the male that's the hero. But it doesn't mean you don't have it. Like, for example, you have like Xena, and you have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you have Aruella. So there are characters that are that are heroic characters. So without the guy necessarily saving them. So, but either way, so you have the alpha heroine. She's the leader of the girls. She's strong. She's beautiful. She is, she's not like somebody who's a weak character. You have the beta character who she's usually somebody who's very smart. She's very simple. She's the best student. She's a very smart character. Again, a character that is, a popular character for, Somali culture. But in general, it's a very popular character, especially nowadays with the women's rights and everything, to have a character who she's a girl and she's smart, and then she made her life on her own because with her brain, not necessarily her beauty. So it is still more popular character than, for example, the alpha character. The alpha character is still not necessarily a popular character. The girl that's the leader, a lot of times it's going to be the male alpha that is the leader. So now for the theta heroine. Now this is surprisingly the most popular female character in history. I don't really think it's popular in necessarily one culture. I think it's popular in almost every culture. The idea of the sweet, innocent girl. She's usually the one that is the main hero or heroine. She's the sweet girl. She's the princess. She's the young girl. that the guys they're like looking for and they want to take care of, the same way that a Somali guy will say, hey, my dream is the getting the sweet innocent girl from back home that's not corrupted by being westernized. So the theta heroine a lot of times is extremely popular in a lot of stories, and you'll see her all the time, that maybe she's a girl who doesn't really know, she's not as smart as the beta character, and she's not as strong as the alpha character. She's just a young, sweet, innocent girl who needs help. And a lot of times, it's she's a popular character. So in general, culture-wise, story-wise, it's always going to be that one. Now, you also have the other character, the Delta heroine. Delta heroines actually are I think that's the most least. Honestly, it's not even something that you see. And I think it's because when you see a theta character that is popular, the idea of a girl being innocent and sweet and young, she's going to be because of that's so popular and ingrained in most human society, when you see something like the Delta heroine, she's usually going to be the villain, because the bad girl is not supposed to be bad. A girl can't be bad. So if a girl is doing the wrong thing and she's not innocent at all, and that type of character, a lot of times you'll see her as the villain. She's not going to be the hero. She's always going to be the villain. If anything, she's going to be doing bad things to the beta girl, or even the alpha or the beta. She's going to be the bad one, the witch in the story. So it's going to be that one. Okay, so let's do story type damsel in distress. So this one, maybe a girl, she's going to lose her life, her livelihood, her freedom, her reputation. Something's on the line, something bad is going to happen. Okay? And I'm sure you've seen this story many times. It's usually always the first scene, the first story in almost every heroic story, that you have a girl that she's in trouble, and then some guy comes and he saves her from that trouble. It's usually the first story most of the time in those type of stories. So with a damsel in distress, for example, what happens? The goal, you have to rescue the girl. Someone's threatening her life, her livelihood, a disaster, what goes wrong? Why is everybody so upset? Why is it going to be hard to rescue this girl? And at the end, the hero has to make that decision. Like, either he's going to risk his life to save her or he's not. One or the other. So hopefully he does save her. So, for example, suppose you have a girl named Suggle. She needs to get rescued. She's being threatened. There's a wedding and everything goes wrong. So she's almost going to lose her life. She almost gets killed. A boy tries to save her. He may die if he tries to save her, but he decides, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to save her anyway. So go ahead and write an outline for your story. Do your 6 steps that happen in 6 minutes, 1 hour, or 6 hours, and write 100 to 200 words for each step of your short story, and say how the damsel in distress gets rescued. Very popular story, easy. I'm sure everybody can do it. So if you haven't already experienced this yourself as being a damsel in distress or a male rescuing a girl, since we know Somali guys always rescue Somali girls all the time, so I'm pretty sure it'll be easy to write. So either way, write a short story every week. It's not possible to write 52 short stories in a row. Bye.